Happy Friday, America, and who loves Halloween? America loves Halloween. We got some Halloween coming your way on this episode of Happy Friday, America. My name is Kevin Badstone, doing some MCing tonight on this one. Great topics coming your way. Thanks again to everyone that supports this program and its entire YouTube channel. Be sure to mash that subscribe button if you haven't already, so the episodes come right to your device. Enough screwing around. Let's get right to it. Bringing in the man. It's Arthur. Time to stay inside raw.
Hey, you know, the cycles change, the seasons change, and when you're a busy boy, it's nice to pump the brakes a little bit and enjoy some peace and quiet. So thank you, Kev. Super excited for this one. It's always fun doing a Halloween special. Definitely got some spooky stuff, but you know what we got to get started with.
Today in history, Art, kicking off in 1870. What do we got?
1870, the first postcard is used in the United States of America.
Wow.
I should have done, what's fun about this segment is it makes me want to, research more about some stuff and, figure it out. I didn't research that. I wonder, my guess is probably New Orleans, or it was probably New York.
1870, I'm thinking it's somewhere in the East Coast. Probably Boston, New York area.
Yeah.
Somewhere over there.
It was probably one of those guys. Last week, I believe it was last week, we were talking about the first international plane race. So I saw one pop up for 1891. It was the first international 6-day bike race. In parentheses, it says New York, Madison Square Garden here. But then when I did my research on this, it actually was in Paris. And they were going from other countries out there. It was 1,200 kilometers. Back at that time, they didn't know the full capability of what a bicycle could do or what a human could do on a bicycle. So it took 6 days to complete this bike race.
Damn.
It wasn't as crazy as the air race with all the deaths and crashes and stuff.
That was intense.
But I thought that was fun. These international races. What a time to be alive, I'm sure, for all the bikers out there. Moving to 1929, former Interior Secretary Albert B. Fall is convicted of accepting a $10,000 bribe, which was probably a lot back then. And actually, 10,000, somebody threw that my way nowadays. Who knows what you might convince me to do?
Well, yeah, 10,000 of them go a long way.
Major. But that was for a Teapot scandal. That was the first U.S. cabinet member to go to jail for this type of stuff. It was the first to go to jail for it. So you know they were doing it before then.
Damn.
And people just weren't getting caught,
Of
right?
course.
So moving into the Air Force history, 1974, the U.S. Air Force fires its first ICBM, International Intercontinental Ballistic Missile.
There it is.
Successfully from a plane over the Pacific Ocean off the Southern California coast.
That was in 74, huh?
In 74, man, they were rocking those things.
50 years ago.
Yep. And then I had to move it to 2018, something a little more recent. First work of art produced by artificial intelligence. I searched this art too. It's Edmond de Bellamy is the name of this art, and it was conceived by Obvious, which maybe was the AI intelligence. Is called Obvious, and it sells for almost $500,000. It sold for $432,000. in New York, and then so I went and researched this picture, and it basically looks like a pilgrim type guy. It's not super detailed, but it looks kind of like a painting. And that was the first AI art, and that was 2018 is when that was happening.
Man, look how far AI has already come just in those 6 years. But it's always interesting to me how people value art. It's some people pay ridiculous amount for what I look at as it's cool, but $500,000 cool? Do you think it was because it was the first AI-generated art?
I mean, it wasn't a bad-looking picture, but also it does have that selling point, and it's I don't know. If you have excess money,
yeah, you're just throwing it around.
Then what do? You buy art. You buy things that you could appreciate that you think are cool. We only live once. You might as well do some things that you think is cool. And if buying art is down your alley, then go ahead and do it if you got the flow.
That's the beauty of America, baby. Whatever's up your alley, you have the freedom to do so. And we got to get into Halloween, Art. I mean, this is, it's not my personal favorite holiday. Even when I was a kid, who doesn't love candy?
What do you like, Thanksgiving? Is that your
Thanksgiving's
top?
my number one.
Okay,
good
that
call.
makes
Yeah,
sense.
good call. I was just talking to my mom about that the other day because we're already planning that. Smoking a turkey, by the way, again.
Yummy.
But the Halloween candy, right? This is kind of ebbed and flowed over the years. When our folks were a kid, they would grab a pillow sack and just go out and fill it up. Trick-or-treating has changed, right? Times have changed. We got door cameras now. A lot of things with the Halloween world has changed a little bit with the trick-or-treating. But one thing that hasn't is the candy. And so one of these articles here that we'll include in the show notes, there's a lot, and there's always going to be opinion based on what is your rank of top 10 candies? Your and mine are probably going to be different, but take a look at this, Art. I mean, Reese's making number one. Still holding it strong according to this article.
Reese's is good.
Now,
It wouldn't be my number one.
It wouldn't, but would it make your top 10, do you think?
Yeah, maybe.
You think it's in the top 10?
I don't know. I think like
Reese's peanut butter cups, or do you like the little ones?
So how about like the Nutter Butter bars? Does that count as like a candy bar? Because that's like a sweet treat.
Oh, the Nutty Buddies?
Yeah.
It's not really candy, though. It's more of like a
wafer. But like Kit Kat is a wafer, and that's a candy.
It's kind of sold more as a smaller candy bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Nutty Buddies would fit in there. You know, it'd probably melt, though, in your little candy sack.
That's true.
Depending on where you're trick-or-treating.
That's true. Reese's is good. I do agree with some other ones on this list, like Twix coming in number 2. Sour Patch coming at number 3.
Sour Patch has really come up. I mean, I remember when those came out when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a new candy. Skittles was big at that time. Sour, like Warheads, were coming to the scene. And then Sour Patch came in. And ever since then, they've been growing. Yeah, they made number 3 on this list.
That's crazy. I'm really surprised by number 4. The most basic of Halloween candies, the candy corn.
Look, it's a staple. Whether you like it or not, candy corn's a staple.
I didn't realize it was top 10 worthy, though. I thought people just accepted like this was something that comes out around this time of the year.
Candy corn, yeah, you get the little fun sizes. Some kids might like them, some not, but it's such a staple of Halloween. Do I think it deserves to be number 4? Absolutely not, because there's a candy on that didn't even make this top 10 list that we'll get into here in a sec. That's very frustrating, but keep it moving. Butterfingers. Look, I liked Butterfingers as a kid. Fun size, though. I don't want the mega size. Give me the fun size Butterfingers. Starburst, I mean, again, those were kind of introduced in our childhood. They've gotten big. Hershey's bars, they've stood the test of time.
Classic.
I mean, you know, you go back to when Mom and Dad were trick-or-treating age. They were looking for that Hershey bar. They wanted that chocolate hit. You mentioned Kit Kat.
Yep, I do like the Kit Kats. And then Twizzlers. Okay, and then we got M&M's at number 10. How did candy corn make the list and Twizzlers make the no Snickers?
That was what frustrated me the most about this list. How are we not eating Snickers, guys? It's the best candy bar there is.
I agree. Snickers is TSM, top shelf mustard candy.
It is the best candy bar, but apparently the kids don't like it anymore. Maybe because there's a big peanut allergy these days. I don't know, man. I'm not sure why Snickers didn't make this list. Now, if you were to look at a different list, you know, maybe polled some different people, it would have, but the eater.com here is the one I went with for this week's show.
Yeah, I was surprised by the results on that. Definitely a fun one regardless, you know, because it's the author's opinion. Like, isn't it? Or are they like polling for this stuff?
Yeah, I think they kind of, you know, they poll a little bit. They gather what's going on. But the trend with candy has changed a bit. It has. But there's still some classic hitters in this list. I don't see anything new in here that I don't recognize.
That's true. And there's also going to be some other trends with morning coffee that we're talking about later. So it'll be fun. People are trying to change things.
Switching it up.
But one thing that hasn't changed is there's always been ghost stories. Okay, so it's Halloween. I didn't find an article about this, but I did do some research. I read some ghost stories that people wrote, and I have recapped one of my own on Discussion Combustion. I don't think I've ever talked about it here on Happy Friday. So I'm just going to get into a couple of these Halloween ghost stories that I was reading through really quickly here. So one that was weird, these two guys were on a business trip, like from Canada, driving back home. They were driving through Buffalo, New York area. It was really late. They were like doing show type of stuff. So like they had to like upload playlists and like this kind of stuff. The laptop was in the back of the car. They end up pulling off the highway. It's 3 a.m., super late. And where they pulled off, it was like a ghost town. Like buildings, but no lights, no people. The laptop's in the trunk. So one of the guys gets out, pulls the laptop out of the trunk. And when he's walking back to the car, a vehicle pulls up in front, and then a like 20, 30-year-old woman hops out. And she's like, oh, what kind of laptop? You know, what is that? And he's like, oh, you know, it's an Apple. Like, I like it. And apparently the guy who was doing this talking was like a person who had dealt with like mentally people who had been through trauma and stuff. So he was very kind and polite, even though it was kind of odd at 3 a.m. And then so he gets back in the car, and then the lady like knocks on the window, and she's like, hey, like she's frantic. She's like, you know, I don't know what's going on. She's like, ended up telling this story that she had an argument with her boyfriend that evening, and she doesn't know if she killed him or if she is dead.
Whoa.
And she's like, can you guys help me out? Like, all my problems in life has been from men's, and this isn't like in capital. Like, so I need a man to make you're men, so you need to make a sacrifice for me. And they're like, sorry, it's late. We got to go home. We don't have any room in the back. I'm so sorry. Who knows what she was asking for? Who knows if she was paranormal or not? That's just a creepy story, right? So moving on, to another story. A girl experiences a shadowy figure in her room. It like jolts her out of sleep. She doesn't have sleep paralysis, like, you know, the sleep paralysis. I can't talk right now. Paralysis demon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had sleep paralysis.
So there's that whole thing. She says she doesn't have that.
That's good.
And she could like kind of see this figure, and like it's happened a couple nights in a row where it's gotten like a little bit closer, and she just feels this presence. Her room is dark. She can't see, but we can feel when something is there.
Yeah.
She talks to her girlfriends about this and finds out that the same nights her friend group were experiencing the exact same thing. So like they're also experiencing like this shadowy, creepy.
And they were in the same place?
No, different buildings.
Oh,
and so it's like, so she's like, is this a bad omen? You know, is this spirit like, did somebody do voodoo on the friend group? Like, who knows?
Wow.
So that's kind of a crazy one. And then a personal story, an ex of mine, she like always went to hotels and this and that and like bed and breakfast, and her family would travel. And she told me about how she like stayed at a bed and breakfast in New England one time and like had like this sleep paralysis like experience, right? And then she went back home to Texas and the spirit followed her. And so like early in that relationship, I remember like putting a lot of positive energy into like we have the light within us. I've also had my own ghost story. I lived on 5 acres, super rural. I was a little kid, and on that property, there's like these little twigs over every single doorway and every single window. They had cleansed the house before we moved in there, and I felt the presence of a ghost. I saw a silhouette before in my bedroom when I was a kid there. It scared the shit out of me. It was just watching. It wasn't a deadly ghost, but there was definitely eyes on.
And I think you've shared this before.
I've definitely shared that story before, but it still gets to me today. And then so it gets me to the question, you know, how do you eliminate bad spirits? How do you eliminate like these demon presence from your life? And like I kind of have some thoughts on this. So like I do believe in like the cleansing. Like sure, you could sage your house and do different things, but really I think it comes down to like inner light and accepting that it's there, but that you are stronger. And so like if you're always watching horror movies, or if you're on like social media and you're like watching the creepy ghost videos where it's like this shadow figure looking around a corner,
you're gonna
like,
see it.
Like you open it up, you open your mind up more to it, and then I feel like that creates a gateway to let it in. So like for me personally, with spirits and like kind of those dark energies, which I do believe exist, I just believe that my inner light is stronger than any negative dark force. But that took years for me to accomplish, right, and accept. So I don't know, man. Have you ever had anything like that? What are your thoughts if you were being haunted? How would you get rid of a ghost?
That's interesting, because a lot of people haven't experienced it, because a lot of people just flat out don't believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really is kind of that mind piece. But I think there's a reality too, that there's multiple dimensions. Hard to prove. There's a lot of like weird, mathematical and scientific equations behind, the uncertainty of it. But the reality is, energy exists. Everything is energy. Mm-hmm. I feel like, religious or not. That's just kind of what I believe. So with that, you're always going to have the positive and the negative, the light and the darkness, if you will. I've experienced paranormal activity throughout my life, and I think, to your point, the more you let it in, the more you think about it, the more you're susceptible to it and letting it in. I've had sleep paralysis where I'm not going to sit here and say I was being possessed by a demon per se.
Like holding you down?
But I couldn't, and that could have been related to other things, years of alcoholism, depression, you name it. A lot of things can lead to paralysis for other things. But a lot of folks, like you look at stories like The Exorcism of Emily Rose and some of these other stories, those are true stories. Mm-hmm. Something was going on that is unexplainable. So to sit here and suggest that it can't exist, I think we just can't write it off.
It gets me a little spooky just thinking about it, and like, we have the light within us. We are more powerful than these negative entities. Okay.
Yeah, the best way to do it is
that's how we get rid of it.
It is. Yeah, it is. I'll take a page of my mom's book. She would always say, like, anytime she would feel it, she'd be like, "Not now. I don't want this here." Like, kind of taking control, almost like affirmation wise. Like, I feel you, I respect you, but I don't want you here.
Yes.
And she found success doing that.
Yeah, it's creepy, man. And just one more story.
Go ahead.
A girl I was dating, she was shopping for houses, and she was like checking out a room upstairs. And when she was in that empty room, like all of a sudden she felt the fucking hand on her. All of her hair stood up. And then she went down to talk to the realtor and was like, "This house is haunted, isn't it?" And the realtor was like, "Yeah, did something just happen?" And she's like, "Yep, not getting this house."
Yeah.
So it's crazy, man.
It's a whole creepy world, man, for sure.
Is,
it's fun to talk about, for sure. It kind of does make the hair on the back of your neck stand up.
I know. I got goosebumps a couple times just talking about it.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. But that's a spooky time of year, man. You know, that's the time to talk about it. But before we get back into Halloween stuff, we got to give a shout out to our boy David Rush. He's back in my random records. We got some things in the works on the discussion combustion side, so stay tuned on that. No guarantees, but we are in contact with David Rush to have him on the show, and he is still doing amazing things. Coming up on 200 records. If you've been following this show long enough, you've seen us follow his journey to 188, tying Silvio Saba to take the record. I think it was 181, excuse me.
We've been following this for at least a year.
I mean, really, even since the John Ekstrom days, we had David Rush making my random records. So
that's true.
He's crushing it. What's he doing this week? I mean, another thing I would never think that would even be a world record, but the man finds them and he breaks them. The previous one was set at 12 feet of how long you can blow a playing card. So you think about a playing card, let's say the ace of spades, for example. How far you think you can blow that thing in one breath? You can't re-inhale.
On one breath, the record was 12 feet.
12 feet.
So I think there has to be a tech. You can bend the card?
I don't know the logistics of it and what you can do with it or not. I would think you probably should be able to do what you want with it. But if you roll it up into a ball, I feel like it would go further.
And blowing it? No, because like you can like Chinese star a card.
You can.
And so I don't know. I think I might be able to hit 10 feet maybe.
We should try. We always say we're going to try these. We never do. I'd be curious now. I have playing cards at the house. I might get the old measuring tape out and go.
Yep. Just
see how far we can blow
that thing.
You're like.
You're
That's the thing. And so David Rush, solid lad. He had to train for this. He's blowing this thing 33 feet and 4.78 inches with one single breath, breaking the previous record by a factor of 269% over. This man's talented. He puts his mind to it. He breaks these wild records. But, man, think about that. 33 feet. I mean, looking in our studio right now.
We don't even have that.
We don't even have that to the other side of the wall, maybe 24 at the most.
Yeah, so that's a deep breath. How tall is this guy?
I think David Rush probably about 6 feet.
I feel he's like probably a big boy, got a big lung capacity if he's blowing a playing card 33 feet.
You've seen him.
Yeah.
You're going to see him soon.
Yeah, we're gonna be getting some more on Rush soon. But next, we got to jump into the Would You Rather. And, of course...
I got to get the results, Art.
Before we do that, we want to take a look at the results from last week. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, we do a weekly Would You Rather, and we encourage everybody to put in your answers. You could put your answer in the bottom of the comments here on YouTube or on X. We got a poll up there. Get a lot of great feedback and replies. Last week's Would You Rather, what was it again? I'm always forgetting.
Yeah, and I'm surprised by these results. Actually, no, I'm not. So last week we asked the viewers, going back 10 years, not knowing what we know now about would you rather be caught at a Diddy party or on Epstein's Island?
Yes.
America went 50-50 on this, Art.
Really?
They went 50-50. Again, this is a couple weeks, America.
Yeah,
you're
twice.
Not... I mean, is this a prediction of the election results or something? Why are we going so split here? I don't know, but 50-50.
It was really 50-50?
50-50. Again.
Who would want to go? You said Diddy party, right?
I took the Diddy party for reasons that people didn't watch last week's episode. You're at a networking thing, you're with celebrities, you get invited to this thing, you're like, this isn't really my jam. You could leave.
Yeah.
So at least you were at the Diddy party, but you weren't there for those reasons.
Yeah. If you're on the island,
that's
island.
harder to defend.
Yeah, it's harder to leave.
And, yes, because as we know, an island is a body of land surrounded completely by water.
Throwback. So, Would You Rather? This one is going to be a Halloween themed. Kevin is the mind behind this one. I liked it. So, would you rather never eat Halloween candy again? And that means like all year. Like you're never eating candy, Snickers, or what was number one? Fucking Reese's. You're never having a Reese's again. Okay? Or you can never watch a spooky movie or like a scary movie ever again.
That's a tough one.
So no candy for the rest of your life, or no horror movies for the rest of your life.
I'm trying to dial back my candy intake because since getting off alcohol, sugar cravings have snuck in. So like naturally, I want to say I'm going to stick with the movies to stay off the candy, but I'm going to want a Sour Patch or a Snicker again. And I'm not. Who's kidding? I still haven't watched a single Halloween movie yet. I am going to watch Beetlejuice once it's available on streaming, where I don't have to pay for it additional. So with that said, not an easy decision. I am going to give up the spooky, scary movies, and I'm going to keep the Snickers.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense. I'm going to have the same answer but different reasoning. Like we were talking about, how do we eliminate ghosts and evil spirits from our life? We disassociate from that stuff and create a shield. So if I am constantly watching horror movies and exorcism movies and creeping myself out, then I'm opening up that portal. So I don't I'm not necessarily eating sugar all the time, but every once in a while, I don't mind having a Snickers, which didn't make the list. So I'm removing the horror movies, and I'm still gonna snack on an occasional candy. That's what I'm going. America, what are you going to decide?
Probably going to be 50-50 again.
Yeah, probably going to be 50-50. Either you're sticking with the spooky movies or you're sticking with the sugary treats. Next, we got Gen Z doing something to wake up.
Yeah, so this one I found interesting. This has been kind of a topic for a while. And we saw this, again, going back to our childhood, Gatorade, Propel. A lot of these electrolyte beverages started to become pretty popular for, athlete rehydration. And that's really where it was more focused as a sports drink. You get out of the gym, you just got done at football practice, you'd have some Gatorade. Well, now the electrolyte movement, has really excelled to where Gen Z is basically replacing caffeine and replacing just general water in general, right? So they're still drinking water, but they're adding this electrolyte powder to it, these capsules that they're taking.
So is there no caffeine in those packets?
I don't believe there is. I don't believe there's any caffeine. There probably is some that have electrolyte plus caffeine. We see those energy drinks with guarana and all that bullshit in it. But the thing here is, on the medical side, from what I'm hearing, is just as bad for your body as too little electrolytes. We could see having an overload of electrolytes also being a problem, right? Your electrolyte balance is just that. Hydration is one thing, but your electrolyte balance is another.
Yeah, I could see that because, look, I've been an overdoer before where it's like, 5 is always better than 1. And so it's like, I'm trying to wake up, and then you're like overdosing in electrolytes. Is it just like taking too many vitamins where you just kind of pee it out and like you don't absorb it? Or I don't know the negative effects of too many electrolytes, but you could overdrink water.
Right. Yeah, water.
There's a balance. It's all about the balance.
It's all about the balance. And like we've talked about on the show last night and many of other programs, do your own research on it. Do what makes sense to you, of course. Because, look, I love electrolyte beverages. I drank that big old bottle of Propel yesterday, the electrolyte water. Feel great. But that's it. That's all I need. I'm not going to continue to drink those throughout the day. I'll go back to regular water or my seltzer water. So I think it's a balance. And I'm not really much of a coffee drinker anymore unless I got an early morning flight. I don't think you're going to see me replace my morning water with electrolytes, but I do like those emergencies, and those are packed with it.
Those are good, but you can't. And for my opinion, you can't replace coffee. It holds a special place in my heart. It's a ritual. You wake up. Sometimes it gets me out of bed thinking about grinding up those coffee beans and unlocking the flavor.
So you do that first thing. You don't preset your maker for the morning.
Oh, no. That's like my morning. I wake up. It's part of. It gets me out of bed. I get excited to go grind the beans and hear that thing brewing and bubbling. And you know what? Then you got your coffee there. The place smells delicious. I'm team coffee all the way. Electrolytes are important. They're essential within food and health, and we need it in our body, obviously. But I can't replace coffee with electrolytes. There's no way.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, coffee's coffee. It's going to have its place.
I mean, if I was super hungover after having a bender, which I really don't do that anymore.
That's good.
But then maybe I slam some electrolytes first thing and then have a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I mean, either or. I guess the fact remains, whatever works for each individual. Too much of this is no good. Too much of that's no good.
It is. So it's all about the balance, baby. I swear, in my mid to late 30s, I'm finding that life is just a tightrope.
Sure is.
And moving on to some good news and kind of a scary situation as well, we're going to talk about a solid lad, Daniel Kinsella, a 16-year-old who lives near the UK, who overcame cancer as a young kid and then is now helping to save people out of a dinghy boat in rough waters. So, a little bit of story on this guy. Back in 2012, he was just 4 years old. His skin started bruising. He had yellow skin, and he actually was diagnosed with leukemia. So, poor little kid, man. He had to go through this. I don't understand how kids get cancer and stuff.
Yeah, it's wild.
It doesn't make sense to me. You haven't even been alive that long to ruin your body. But
yeah.
Everybody's different. He did make it through after years and years. His stepfather helped him get a yacht certification. The kid loved the water. So even though he couldn't be out in the sun while he was going through all this recovery, he couldn't actually swim. They would still get him on a boat and help him get these yacht certifications. And he got certified to run a dinghy, which is a pretty rigged, smaller boat, but can handle some waves and stuff. And it's good to go.
Dinghies are fun.
So good news is he did get cancer free. So awesome
Terrific.
to that, because that's a scary event, especially being so young and for the parents. But he got his yacht certification while he was doing it and boating certification. So the guy, he loves the water. He's just out there with a couple friends one day, and he's tuning into channel 16. That's the radio frequency for maritime emergencies in the UK. If you're on a boat, like, you should always have like the Coast Guard or whatever channel open, because you might be the closest vessel to an emergency and you might be able to assist.
And hear a call or something.
Yep. And so it's important. It's kind of cool to hear what's going on out there too in the water.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of stuff's happening. Well, Daniel was a super solid lad. He had some friends on his dinghy. He heard that a couple paddle boarders got stuck on some rocks. There was apparently some heavy winds this day, and it blew these guys way off course. They went out way further than they expected on these paddle boards. And, like, it was a nice warm day on the beach, but you get out in the water,
Chilly.
It's cold. It is going to be cold. So he knew the rules and, like, passenger limits and all this other stuff. So he rushes back to shore, drops off his friends, and then goes to rescue these paddle boarders.
How come he didn't bring his friends to help?
Because you can only have a certain maximum amount of people on the boat.
And he was going to bring them on the boat.
Yeah, so he's bringing these people back. And he does this successfully, not once that day, but 3 different groups of paddle boarders got caught in this breeze and this mega wind and got stuck in different situations. And this 16-year-old kid is out there in this rigid dinghy and saving these people, man.
That's terrific.
So,
that's terrific.
Scary situation, almost dying of cancer as a young kid, overcomes it, and then now he's out there helping out people, enjoying the water, and helping people out of a dire situation. I like this good news section, so I kind of keep that going.
I like the good news.
And I didn't know how to make it scary for Halloween, so I guess they were all in a scary situation.
Yeah.
But they made it out safe.
Well, I mean, great story for sure. What a warrior, what a hero, to go out there, because it could have easily just have turned the other way and just ignored the danger.
Or told somebody else about it and had them go help.
But he's like, no, I'm going to take it upon myself. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you guys got to get off. I need to wait. I'm going to go save these lads. 16 years old, man, surviving leukemia, second lease on life, tremendous.
That's a solid lad moment. And, taking responsibility into your own hands and owning the moment, that's being alive.
That is fantastic. Thanks for sharing that with us, Art. Love the Good News Network stories. That's kind of become a weekly part of the show, and I like it.
Yeah, well, who's our weekly hero?
Who's the weekly hero?
This weekly hero is Daniel Kinsella.
Well, if they had a costume of him, I would wear it. And, of course, we're getting into the costume talks now. It's that time. A lot of Halloween parties coming up this weekend. You got, your kids are probably yanking at you of what they want to be.
What do you want to be?
I'm not going to do it this year. Yeah, I'm not.
Okay.
I was never a big Halloween guy to begin with. And then, in my drinking years, it just was an excuse to get even more drunk, and so then I'd have fun with it. But I'm going to decide not to dress up this year, unless I'm going to dress up as myself, of course, and I'll be looking good. But when folks do dress up this year, the things that are trending, Art, it looks like, of course, Beetlejuice.
Okay.
Makes sense. Beetlejuice, I mentioned earlier, just came out. Deadpool and Wolverine, that kind of makes sense, right? That film just dropped a few months ago.
That's a good one.
Inside Out 2, which I also viewed over the summer, great movie. And I could see that, like, with the anger guy or, like, all the characters of it. They're kind of unique looking, so that'd be kind of fun to dress up as. The Amazing Digital Circus, I don't know what that is.
Me neither.
It's probably something that the younger generation could fill us in on. And then Despicable Me. Heard of it, but don't know a ton about it.
Yeah.
So those were the top 5 trending searched costumes within Spirit Halloween. So that kind of gauges where the market's going for the kids.
Okay.
But man, when we were young, like, what were you dressing up as?
I was Wolverine.
Okay.
Spider-Man.
Okay.
Like some kind of superheroes, maybe a pirate.
Pirates are cool.
Maybe like a ninja. I'm thinking about maybe being a construction worker again this year, because I have the hard hat and stuff.
That's a good one.
And I don't want to buy like stuff for a Halloween costume.
I did that.
So it's like maybe just put on the hard hat and like my reflective vest and be like, maybe I put like a funny note on it that says like, I don't know, something funny. Yeah, I don't know.
You can have fun with it. The best one I ever did, of course, was Joe Exotic for our longtime followers.
That one was super good.
That was fantastic. Really getting into the character, but it was fun to play the character of it. It was like acting a bit. I did Bob Ross once, and then when I was a kid, it was like a cowboy, a clown. Your predictable stuff. You thought the Scream mask when that was big. Jason Voorhees with the hockey mask. You don't really see those as much anymore. That was more our generation.
That's classic. The hockey mask is a classic. I don't know. I think there is like a little shindig that I got to do for Halloween. Maybe I'll go out and just be in casual clothes, but it's really for the ladies. Like, they go out there, they get their sexy on, they have fun out there. And like, what was that one medication you were talking about last night?
Ozempic. That's becoming a problem.
Yeah, I was searching for articles, and apparently there's a sexy Ozempic like Halloween costume, like where you could be this shot.
I don't like
for
it.
Ozempic.
I don't like anything with a shot.
I don't know. It's kind of odd.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the Ozempic movement, but you're probably going to see a lot of it out there this weekend, apparently, if that's a costume, and people on it, because everyone's on it now trying to lose weight, and if you're eating that much candy, you're trying to combat it. It's a whole slippery slope, folks.
It is. The fine balance of life. So, cool stuff to do this weekend. You already know there's going to be plenty of Halloween parties. Definitely check out the episode of Discussion Combustion that dropped yesterday. We were kind of talking about being responsible, still having fun. We only live one life, so have some fun out there, but be responsible as you can with it, and be careful out there if you're partying, especially with strangers. You don't know what people's intentions are.
Yeah, mind your drinks out. There's a lot of roofing happening in the community, and just alcohol in general can be dangerous. So protect your drinks. Don't drink too much. Don't be afraid to get an Uber or Lyft. We're fortunate to live in that time now. Call a buddy, whatever you got to do. Don't drink and drive. Stay safe out there, America. Down in Atlanta, Georgia, they got the One Music Fest going on. I love the Music Fest, man. Those are always fun. It just highlights a lot of great bands. That's going on tomorrow down in Hot Atlanta. What else we got, Art?
We got Freaky Deaky Music Festival Saturday and Sunday in Austin, Texas. I hear that's the Denver of Texas. Never been to Austin. I'd love to check that out. I hear the food is amazing. And especially if people having fun getting freaky deaky. What does freaky deaky mean?
I think it just rhymes.
What does deaky mean?
It just rhymes with freak, deek, freaky deaky.
A freaky deaky geeky.
A freaky deaky geeky. Yeah, it just rhymes.
How much further can we go with that?
Freaky deaky, geeky. Sneaky. Weaky?
Winky? I don't know.
I don't know. It could go on.
I don't know. It's fun, but it's playoffs for
baby.
NASCAR. I know that we have one of the very best sitting across the table from me on the sport. Kev, what's going on this weekend in Miami?
Well, we're getting closer, guys. I mean, the times are ticking. It is on in the round of 8. The playoffs are heating up. We're in Miami, Florida this weekend. It's going to be a fantastic race, and then we go to Martinsville, and then we're done. And we go to Phoenix. The championship's here. So very important. Very important. No time to mess around. If you're going to make it into Phoenix, it's go time. This is why sports fans are sports fans. We got the World Series kicking off tonight. We got football happening. People are tuning in for the action. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yep, and big news for Mash the Gas. I'm not dropping it here, but big things happening in the Mash the Gas world that we're super excited for next season happening, and I'm not dropping the juice right here, though.
Stay tuned.
So thank you so much for checking out this episode of Happy Friday America. Check us out on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, Happy Friday USA, X, Happy Fry, Fri, USA. Send us an email, happyfridayamerica@gmail.com, and let's keep it spooky, baby.